feel really gross that I said that. Don't join the fam. We're not doing parasocial relationship. Hey, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Temi, and for those who don't know me, I am a 34-year-old part-time PhD student. I go to King's College London, although right now I am at a fellowship at the Centre of Advanced Internet Studies. If you're not new here, then thank you for clicking on this video, and thank you for joining me today. It would be really great if this is the second or third time you've watched one of my videos, if you could subscribe. Yeah, why not? Join the fam. I feel really gross that I said that. Don't join the fam. We're not doing parasocial relationships. After I finished editing and uploading my latest vlog, I had the itch to record some more. And so last night I was thinking, why don't I talk about some of my goals for 2024? This isn't really like a New Year's resolutions list. I don't really do New Year's resolutions anymore, but I do have some goals for the next year, and I really would like to be accountable to myself to doing everything I can to try and achieve those goals. I'm looking at my Notion here because I can't just do these things off the cuff, otherwise I will just ramble all the time. Yes, I split my goals into more focus around my PhD and then just like things that I want to do in my life. So I'll start with the PhD ones now. Okay, so my first goal is to present at 2 conferences. I have submitted 2 abstracts to 2 conferences for next year, and I've already heard back from one, and that is the Tulane University Critical Approaches to Black Media Culture conference. It's happening in New Orleans, and I will be presenting some work there. And then a second conference is around care and intimacy, and I've submitted to that, but I haven't heard back from them like at all, so I'm not really sure what's happening there. But I've sent a nudge, sort of being like, hey, did I not hear back because I wasn't successful? I didn't hear back from that either, so I'm not really sure, but that's my first goal, to present at 2 conferences in 2024. Hopefully if I don't hear back from the second one about care and intimacy, maybe I'll find another one in early 2024 that I'll submit to and be successful in getting accepted so I can achieve that one. My second goal is to publish an academic paper in a journal. I actually have a journal article that has been accepted that I am first author, co-written with my colleague, Dr. Francesca Saband, and we've been working on that last year. We got first round of review, but I think it's just like a horrible time because academia is crazy for like unpaid labor, that we're still waiting to hear back from, I think, the editors or the reviewing committee or something, but I really hope that we're able to get that published. Third goal is to submit to another journal. So basically I hope that I want to have the current paper that I've been working on for the past year finally gets like into preprint status, and then next year I also hope to submit another article so that the following year that will likely come out. I do have an open invitation to submit to a journal from an editor that I know for one of their upcoming special issues, so I definitely have a CFP in mind. I just need to figure out exactly what it is I want to write. I'm not sure if maybe I'll pull from my master's dissertation, which is actually published as a preprint, so it is available already for citation and like it's being indexed, but I would like to take some of that data and some of that writing and maybe just publish that as a standalone article. So yeah, that's another thing that I would like to do. As I say this out loud, I'm realizing that I'm basically saying I want to write a lot, which is funny because I don't love writing. I mean, I do, but I also don't. The fourth goal I have is to complete my fieldwork, which is interviews and autoethnography. I recently, like last week, received my RRB, or my ethical approval, from my institution. So that's really exciting. So in January, I will start, or actually probably next week, I will start the recruitment process for that, and that'll probably go for about a month. And then I want to stagger my interviews for the first sort of like 4 months of the year, and then get those done. And then my fifth goal is a bit of a weird, or like a nerdy one. Basically, I want to revamp or relook at my PhD workflow. One of my, or like my first video, and I think my most popular video on my channel, is my how I project manage my PhD video, and that I talk about like how I use Notion as like my second brain, sort of like my desktop for my life admin. And then within Notion, I also have like a separate desktop for my PhD. And then I think I also talked about how I use Zotero and Notero, and how I use PDF Expert. I stopped using PDF Expert because I realized that basically when I was reading articles or books or whatever, and I was annotating, that was fine for a first level of like, or a first step of helping me understand what it is that I'm reading, and helping me to just like, as I'm reading, I would be putting down my thoughts, right? But there's a second step that is required before you can take what you've read and then put it into a cohesive argument. And what I was typically doing was just being like, okay, these are the things I've read, this is the question I'm going to answer in this chapter or whatever, and then just like starting to write that way. But I was finding that, one, really labor intensive, because I would have to go back to that reading part or those annotations and be like, okay, yeah, they said this, what did I think? And then it just like goes a lot of back and forth, and I found that I was constantly sort of rereading and then writing, which I think is part of the process of writing, but I don't think it was the most efficient way. And so I realized that like, the first one is a big one, and it's to move abroad. I'm pretty sure I know where I'm gonna go and when I'm gonna go, but I'm still ironing out some things, which some of these we'll talk about in the rest of these like personal goals. But yeah, the biggest one is to move abroad. I live in the UK and I fucking hate it. The United Kingdom, the government is a fascist government. Just the fabric of society in terms of the infrastructure, the support, just for everyday people, the support just for like third space is just completely not there. And we don't have an opposition. I can't vote Labour with Keir Starmer at the helm, and it's just not a place that I see myself settling down. I don't like it, and this really impacts my happiness levels. And I'm super, super, super privileged and super thankful to my mom, who ensured that I got my Canadian citizenship, which just gives me another passport, which gives me other options for moving abroad. So yeah, that's the first one. And it's a big one, but it is like a necessary one. And the second one, kind of related to that, is to gain employment, ideally full-time and especially remote. I have been out of the full-time sort of employment gang for a couple of years while I've been focusing on my PhD. Going part-time, and at this stage of where I am in my thesis, I'm very comfortable in my capability of just like chipping off sections, and I'm moving through and pushing through, and my supervisors are really too. And so I feel quite comfortable that I'm at the point where it's time to re-enter working full-time, because honestly, I'm tired of being broke. It's exhausting. I'm not poor in the sense that I'm living in extreme poverty, but I live paycheck to paycheck. I can't really save. I can't really enjoy just buying things or doing things. Everything has to be budgeted, pretty much like down to the pound. and I'm exhausted from living that way for the last few years. So I would like to get back into employment, and also because I think I need to start to separate my identity from the PhD. I've already done some of that work just personally because I don't see myself as sort of being a full-time academic. But there's something about doing a PhD that makes you feel very close to obviously your PhD, and your sense of worth gets all wrapped up in it, and I don't want to do that. So I would like to gain full-time employment, probably back into my tech policy, advocacy, consulting, research, measurement stuff that I do, but I probably will not be looking to go straight back into like campaigning or like policy analysis, because that's just too much. It's just too much. I'll just leave it there. My third goal is to start a hobby. I have a couple of hobbies that I do here and there. My favorite one right now is of like doing my own nails. My only specification about this goal is that it has to be offline. I need to do something that takes me away from my computer. My computer has become just sort of like the thing that I open and I turn to, and I like scroll social media or I like watch YouTube, which I love, but I just spend too much time in front of a screen because of my job already. So I really want to start and maintain a hobby that is offline. I don't really have any more specifics around like what hobby or like how many times a week or a month, but it's definitely something that I will introduce once I've decided what that hobby is. I do paint sometimes, but sometimes, I don't know if anyone else feels this, but sometimes like the effort to like start something that you're not accustomed to doing as like leisure time or relaxing, I'm really out of practice with that. And my therapist has told me that like part of leisure is like a habit, like you have to build the habit of like stepping away from work. And the reason why it can feel like quite a challenge is because I just don't have that like that muscle memory of being like, no, this is something I'm going to do for myself away from my computer. The fourth one is related to that, and that is to read more in the evenings. There's this like period of time after dinner from around like 7:30 to 9 that I just sort of like become a glazed over zombie, and I'm just like on my phone and also watching YouTube and also watching something on TV. And I always kind of feel like wired right before I go to bed, but I just can't get out of the habit of doing that, even though I'm like, I want to read. And I think part of that is because I use my Kindle, so then it's just like another screen-based interface. So I really want to get back into reading. Oh no, it says my camera's getting too hot. So yeah, I really want to get back into reading, and I also kind of want to step away more from this like datification of reading that I've been getting involved in, which is like on Storygraph, sort of like saying how many books I've read. I'm not sure, for me, I find it useful to set a reading goal in terms of how many books. Maybe it's more like how many pages I want to read a month. Maybe that's more helpful for me, but I find sort of this whole 30 books a year or 40 books a year, or like crazy booktube stuff, like 100 books a year, just doesn't do anything for me. So I don't want to fall into that trap of this goal. I just want to make better use of my time in the evenings that isn't just dual multi-screening and sort of just like stepping into the void of online subcultures. My final goal is to get back into financial planning and budgeting. Obviously this is related to like gaining a full-time job where I'll hopefully have more income, but like I'm 34, I don't have any real savings, I don't have a house, I don't have a car.
Look at your life, look at your choices.
And these aren't things that I necessarily want, but I just want to be a lot more intentional about what I'm doing with my finances. I also don't want kids, so retirement plan is really important. I have access to a retirement in the UK. I'll also be eligible for like if I decide to go to Canada. So I just want to get some of those things all in order. I also know when I used to work in corporate, I have some retirement funds pockets somewhere that I need to sort of consolidate and get them all organized into one. And I just want to have more accountability and I think transparency for myself in terms of like the state of my finances, and start to be able to save again. start to be able to have like sinking funds and just like be a lot more intentional about my money, which is only really going to be possible if I get a job, which is why that is one of my goals for next year. So yeah, that's it. I feel really good about these goals. They feel doable, but they also feel incredibly important. And as I said, I want to like drastically change my life next year. And I think especially those like personal goals will help me ideally feel at the end of 2024 that I don't still have this feeling of like, oh, I'm still unhappy with these like 3 things. I really want to focus on like, I think finances, friendships, and community next year. That's really important to me. And I think those goals will move me closer to being able to feel a lot more satisfied with my life overall and not just like in certain more like disparate or distant pockets. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any goals for next year. Let me know what you think about my goals, and please subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps with the algorithm, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.